Test, test, 1, 2, 1, 2.
hybrid meeting of the Economic Development and Regeneration Committee. Can I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself? For those of you who are physically in the council chamber here tonight, can I please remind you that when speaking into your microphone, you need to wait until you see yourself on the screens. Those listening on the live feed or via Zoom will not hear you. This is obviously particularly important in the case of vote being required. Can I now ask ICT to confirm that we've begun live streaming? Thank you. Okay, good evening, members, and welcome to our committee tonight. Members, agenda item 1 is apologies. I have received 2 so far from Councillors Alexander and Councillor Lavery. Have we any others from the floor? No? Okay, members. Agenda item 2 is our declarations of interest. Members, if we're happy, we'll take them as we go. Everyone happy with that? Thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 3 is our Head of Tourism, Arts and Culture. It's a couple of information items here, but I'm just going to ask Shane if he gives a brief overview on 3.1. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, 4.1 is just an item for information for members. It's just to update members in the progress towards the restoration of the heritage assets in Armagh under the Townscape Heritage Scheme. We've been working on this project since September 2017, and before that in a development phase for about 2 years before that. So we're now starting to see some very significant sort of results and outcomes from that scheme. And there's a list of what the achievements are, and also there's a visual presentation for members, which is probably more beneficial in terms of the restoration of some of those key properties. Just in terms of some of the sort of highlights, 9 of the properties that we have identified as high priority have been completed and are totally occupied, both in the commercial aspect of it and the residential above the shop. You can see the tenants include coffee shop, sandwich bar, clothes shops, an estate agent, an optician and insurance brokers. And we wanted to point out to members that some of these are brand new startup businesses that are trading for the first time and trading in bespoke sort of locations for them. We're particularly pleased with the residential aspect and the apartments that we have developed. And they will equate to an additional 60 bedrooms in the city centre, which is sort of in keeping with our master plan ambition to bring people back to live in the city centre and create that sense of vibrancy and contribute to the economic life of the city, and particularly with regards to the evening economy. So say there's a PowerPoint associated with the report, and members can sort of browse that at their leisure and see some of the schemes that are currently live, some of the schemes that have been completed, and some of the schemes that we're sort of near finalised with. And I'm happy to take any questions from members on that.
Thank you, Shane. Members, it is an information. We all agreed to note. Happy to note. Oh, sorry, Councillor Flaggerty.
That's not Councillor Flaggerty. No, it actually is a remark I would like to make on item 3.3, if that's all right, Chair. I know it's an item for noting.
Come back in that in a wee second.
Okay, that's okay. That's fair enough, Chair.
Okay. Councillor O'Hanlon, 3.1 again.
Sorry, Chair, just it was late joining there, just to advise a conflict of interest as a member of the Townscape Heritage Partnership.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. We'll have that noted. And Councillor O'Kane.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a conflict of interest as I sit on the Armagh Townscape Heritage Scheme as well.
Thank you. And Councillor McGowan.
Come on. I have a conflict of interest for 3.2 with the Lurgan one.
Thank you. And they're noted. Councillor Moody, is it Alderman Moody the same?
As do I, Chair.
We're lighting up well here. Councillor Savage.
Same again.
We've got them all noted. Yeah, thank you. And okay, members, then we agreed to note. We'll go on to 3.2, the Lurgan Townscape Heritage Scheme, and I'm sure any conflicts of interest will be noted in that one as well. Shane, if you can take us through that briefly.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I suppose to note, Lurgan's about 18 months behind Armagh, so there's maybe not the quantity of properties that are completed in the same sort of sphere as what Armagh have completed. But again, like Armagh, we've given a visual presentation of the progress that has been made to date, and we're on target to complete somewhere in the region of 12 to 13 properties by the end of the scheme. Again, there'll be a mixture of commercial units on the ground floor and residential above. We have one sort of community facility that'll be used for meetings and community sort of activities. In Lurgan, once we're finished, again, we'll have 12, we hope to have 12 residential units and two more retail units. Of note, again, in Lurgan, one of the projects that you will see in the associated PowerPoint is going to be a new restaurant for the town, which I'm sure members will welcome. And you'll note the properties in William Street, which have been an eyesore for quite a number of years. The work has started in them, and they will provide residential accommodation in that part of the town. And you can see the artist's impression of what they will look like compared to what they currently look like. And I'm sure members will agree it's a significant improvement, and it's again bringing people back to live in the town centre. So we're really pleased with the progress of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And Councillor Mackle.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Shane, for the presentation and obviously making a massive difference to the town. It was just in relation to the Foster's work, and I know obviously there was a big delay with it, but I've noticed recently works recommenced on it, and just an update in terms of how things are going with it.
Okay, Shane.
Yeah, you're correct, Councillor. Work is progressing. Just given the nature of the damage that was, and it's hard to believe it's nearly 18 months ago, with the collapse of the gable wall. You know, that has taken up a considerable amount of time, and we're sort of working closely with foresters in order to finish out that scheme. There will be sort of a bit of work needed done whenever our scheme is finished, but the members are sort of talking about how they would finance that beyond the life of this scheme. But we will, I suppose, commit to our objectives, which were restoration of the heritage asset and keeping all of those key architectural features intact. So that'll be the focus of our funding, and then the members are looking at how they might finance the additional piece of work that might be needed.
Okay, thank you, Shane. Okay, members agreed to note. We'll move on to 3.3 and we'll bring in Brian and then Councillor Flackley. Had her hand up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. I would just like to, with your indulgence, just run through some of the event activity, signature event activity over the last number of months, and just to touch on some of the events that are upcoming. Signature events were ratified at the council meeting in May 24. So again, part of the agreement was that we would continually bring update and evaluation on these. I suppose fundamentally I just like to commend the team, because you'll see from the dates they kind of run quite closely together, particularly over the summer. I'll just touch on Buskfest, which was the 20th anniversary. A lot of members wanted a special event this year, given the 20 years, and I think our key act was Ryan McMullen, the town centre. And for me, in all of this data, the key point was that visitor and retailer feedback was stronger in the town centre. So typically we've done that event in Solitude Park, but that was bringing it into the town centre. So just to make a note on that. Seven Hills Blues Festival, again delivered through the team. Again, the headline for me is 99% of the city centre businesses rated the festival as excellent or good, and it is typically for the hostelries and the hospitality a really good event and one that they really value. Food and Cider Festival at ran from the 5th to 8th of September. Again, just to acknowledge the work of the team. There was 39 events over that weekend. The markets were really well attended. There was a market in Solitude Park and another one in the Shambles Yard and into the city centre. And again, you'll see 97% capacity at ticketed events. And the Food and Cider Festival has a really good range of events, from free events up to really quite expensive events. And you'll see again that has attract tourists and visitors in. In terms of Georgian Festival, it's due to take place between the 20th of November and the 1st of December, with the main event as ever being the last Saturday in November. Majority of the program is online and for sale, and we expect there's 130 stall holder places, but there'll be over in and around 100 stall holders across the city. And again, feedback from last year was visitors really appreciated the mall as a location for stalls, and the proposal is that we retain that as well as in the city centre. And just finally, the last report's about home of St Patrick's Festival, and you'll see the dates in there. And we are the request. This is an information item we'll have to take it to another committee, but just to extend the opening hours of Solitude Park in Banbridge to facilitate the operation of a fun fair during the festival from 8 to 10. For Friday the 14th until Monday the 17th, except for the Sunday. So we will take that to another committee in terms of process, but just to make members aware of the request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for the report. And thanks for the report on the signature events. I've attended quite a few of them over the years, and can appreciate fully the work that goes in. Your teams are really flat to the mat on them, and it's particularly clear when you're at any of them. But I have to say this, and you probably know what's coming. I hope you do, because I really must express my disappointment in the lack of signature events in my part of the borough in Portdown. It really, I'm sure this has been said before by other councillors, but it is a real missed opportunity. Time and time again, we see this to showcase the town, engage the local community. And we can see from your report and the figures that they really do boost the local economy. They attract visitors. They're not attracting them to my part of the borough. And I'm obviously particularly biased about Portdown. I make no apologies for that. But to be fair, at this particular juncture, I would say we need to be doing everything we can to enhance Portadown's cultural and social scene. We're parts of the town are really buzzing, but I don't feel they're being supported in this way. There is a need for greater investment and planning in these larger scale events that are going to really reflect Portdown's sort of unique identity. We've talked about it many, many times in many, many workshops about, the river and the nighttime economy there we have. And we need to provide that platform for local businesses. We're just not, I'm just not seeing that at the moment. I really do hope, Brian, that in future initiatives will prioritise Portadown as a key location for these major events. But notwithstanding that, as I've said, I clearly as a Portdown elected representative have a bias for the town, or born and bred, but I would really in general like to see an overall a greater fair spread of resources and events right across the borough. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. And I think, I'm not sure if there's a question, it was just a good point. I know certainly, like yourself, been around many events, and think of the country comes to town, so there's a great appetite for events in Portadown, which will help if you had more events like that there, because there is lots of events that, people come to it in massive droves, so it's good to see these types of things. Councillor O'Halloran.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And first of all, can I begin by thanking Brian and the team for their efforts across the spectrum of events. I know particularly recently there the food and cider weekend was a huge success in Armagh. And look, I'm picking up the point that Councillor Flaherty made in relation to Portadown, and I know we've had this debate over many times within the chamber. But I think it has to be pointed out that, for example, the Georgian Festival in Armagh started out not actually by a council event. It started out by a number of businesses coming together and then council working with them. So anything that council can do to help the business community in Portadown and then bring things on, absolutely, I think that would be very much welcome. Just in relation to the Georgian Festival in Armagh, I'd be keen to see events definitely delivered around the Shambles Yard and that end of town, because I think in recent years it's been felt that end of town has been forgotten about. And I think it'd be key that the entire city is included. But also, I know, Brian, I've said this to you in person, but in relation to the food village, last year, I think was the first year it was used down around Russell Street. Previous to that, it would have been in the car park off Scott Street. And I think the feedback that I would have got would that the car park in Scott Street was a better location. It's just a way for people queuing up to the food stall. So I think that would be, if we could look at that. In terms of the St. Patrick's, Home of St. Patrick's Festival, again, I note the fun fair. Some of us were involved in this year's St. Patrick's events, and the request for a quiet hour. If that could be programmed in from the start and not seen as a last minute addition, and if officers could work with the organisers of the event, because I know even whenever the provision was made there, I think some families felt it was tough enough. And also I'd be keen to see an outdoor event included as part of that in Armagh on St. Patrick's evening, or in around the weekend festival, an outdoor concert or something. But I'm happy to pick that up for Brian, but keen to see that that element of the festival will be developed. But look, Brian, to you, Sarah, Jill, and all the team, thank you very much. It's really, it doesn't go unnoticed the work that you do and the impact that it has on the borough.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon, and Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to follow on, and it's great to see these events, and I've attended one or two of the food and cider ones. There's one in Banbridge, and I think I said at the last committee there's about 2,000 on it, which is fantastic. And it's great to see that all been spread right throughout the borough. But I think it's important, like we're all from different arts and parts of this council, and we represent ratepayers right across the board. And if there's some way of engaging with even the chambers or whatever going forward to see what events or signature events you could have, because I know you're a bit of a stranger in around Lagan River, Brian, so you would be in your department, but I think, you know, we'll happily guide you around. I'm sure my Lagan River colleagues here would do the same. But I think there is more needs to be done right across the board. It's fantastic to see these events. I'm not knocking them. I'm fully supportive of them. But I think there's a lot more that we can reach out and do, you know, right throughout the borough to, you know, let people feel that they are connected to this council. So but sometimes there's a wee disconnect there, and I think we've got to overcome that in the years ahead. So happy to work whatever way going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. And okay, members, that put on record all our thanks to the team. I know a lot of work goes on for all these events, and it's important we have the right ones in the right places, and certainly all members have made very relevant points tonight. So members, that was just for noting. So if we can all agree to note. Thank you. Members, agenda item 4 is correspondence. We don't have any. So if I could seek a proposer and a seconder to go into committee through consideration of the confidential items of business. So proposed Councillor McElrath and Councillor Mackle. Seconded. Thank you, members. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, exempt information, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the council. This means that we'll be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I please ask IC feed again and confirm to me when it is on so the meeting can proceed again in open session. Okay. Members, could I have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Alderman Moodry, and have a seconder, Councillor Flaherty. Thank you, members. Okay, members, we're in agenda item 6, and we have two items of AOB, I think. I'm not just sure. We had, maybe it's been covered. I think Councillor O'Halloran, yours been covered.
Yeah, mine's covered, Chair, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your arm's probably sore holding it up there. You're raising your hand that much, but it's online, I think, is it? 6.1 then, Councillor McClellan, do you have an item of AOB? And we'll bring you in now. Thank you, Councillor McClellan.
Okay, Chair, thank you. And I will be as brief as possible, but Chair members, I refer to EDR 80 2024, the Dromore Revitalisation Programme, as came to this committee last month. I suppose the first thing to say, Chair, is I was somewhat surprised, given the media attention and so on, that this item wasn't on, at least for an update in terms of our agenda this evening, because there certainly does seem to be widespread media interest. Chair, Dromore has a very progressive Chamber of Commerce, and it's vital that they and indeed other stakeholders' views are taken into consideration in terms of what happens to the underspend. That is the question. I would say at this point, Chair, that I commend and thank the officers from the Director Paul right down for all the work that they have done in what is quite a complex scenario, and what is at this stage quite a truncated potential time frame. So I really appreciate all that officers have done, and certainly the phone call that I had with yourself this afternoon, Paul. Thank you for that. Alderman Rankin, myself, and Emma Pengelly, MLA, met with the chair of the chamber in Dromore last Saturday because we were keen to get their up-to-date thoughts and so on in terms of how we best utilise the underspend for the lasting good of Dromore. And I think that that's something that is absolutely vital. And certainly in terms of the feedback that we're getting, there seems to be an interest and quite a degree of interest in some form of shop front scheme. And again, I'm only the messenger at this stage, but perhaps something that's delivered by way of a direct grant to individual businesses. The figure of 3,000 to 5,000 was mentioned, and that would be based on a part contribution from the business, and essentially it would be to paint, to improve, to make general remedial repairs to buildings, and it would all be completed within a 6-month time frame. And applicants to the current scheme obviously would not be eligible, but as I say, I'm just the messenger. That is the bones of a scheme. Chair, I would want to propose this evening that officers go and scope whether a scheme like that or similar is possible within the current criteria. And I suppose if it's not, I would ask that they initiate a program or a discussion with Department for Communities at the earliest opportunity to see what we can do, what can be done. I would further ask that officers scope the option of reopening the current scheme to new applicants, And thirdly, and I'm almost finished, members, you'll be glad to know, I would ask that any surplus money, that consideration is given to it being used to support a spring into Dromore type initiative that with the aim of increasing footfall into the town. Chair, to conclude, and thank you for your patience, we must get the governance right around this, because it's rate and taxpayers' money that we are dealing with, so that's vital. And essentially, whatever money is spent, Chair, must be for the long-term good of Dromore, its traders and its people. So I finish by saying this: let's explore what, if any, flexibility we have with the Department of Communities, up to and including Minister Lyons. Because, folks, as someone once said, if you don't ask, you don't get. Chairman, thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Councillor McLennan. I suppose I'll bring in the director here now. I suppose at AOB we can't agree any spends or anything, so I think you're asking for scoping, not actually, but okay, bring in the director here.
Can I thank Councillor McLennan for his, I suppose, his proposal and comments. I suppose we are a wee bit restricted in terms of timeframes around spend, and I'm more than happy to try and ask our DFC colleagues if they have any flexibility of that. I'm happy to put that forward to them. The previous report, I suppose, did outline, I suppose, what officers plan to, I suppose, progress. Again, we're happy to put something like you've suggested to DFC to see if there's any scope in that, but I will probably outline the timeframe challenges that we are under with a spend of the 31st of March. And I suppose when we go into our governance processes, and I'm glad you mentioned that, which are often, I suppose, imposed upon us by our DFC colleagues, that may, I suppose, influence the lag time and maybe getting projects progress within that time period. But certainly happy to ask our DFC colleagues if they have any flexibility around that, and see where we go in terms of that. Are you happy enough with that, Councillor McLennan?
Thank you. And Councillor O'Halloran, you're next, and then Councillor Savage.
Yeah, Chairman, just in relation to that, look, we have examples of how we've done this before, and particularly there's a paint scheme was something that was done as part in the like a Katie and Tandragee and Armagh City. It was a light touch in terms of governance, and it was actually nearly delivered better outcomes than the shop frontage scheme. So, and one thing I would say to the director, whenever you're going to the department, instead of going and asking, can we have more time, it might be, and I'm not trying to teach my granny to suck eggs, but we go to them and say, if we had more time, we could deliver X, Y, and Z during this time frame. It might look that wee bit more helpful, but support the sentiments of what Councillor McLellan's saying.
Thank you, Councillor O'Halloran and Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I support the sentiments as well, but were we not told at the last committee meeting that the timescales were against us, that you already approached the department about this, and you were you could not deliver within the time frame? Is that right? Aye, yeah, thought that. So look, agree with the sentiments, because that 100,000 underspend there needs to be spent well within Dromore area, and there's different proposals, there's different ideas within the town. And I know I have been working close with some of the businesses there to try and get them back into the scheme, which they were in and then they withdrew from it. So happy to explore everything, but I was led to believe that there was no time left to do a paint scheme by our officers. So it was, and that you had already contacted the department, and that's what you come back to the committee to tell us. That's why we had to explore different ideas. All right. No, that's okay. Thanks.
Okay, I'll bring in Paul again. Thank you.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, just to clarify for Councillor Savage, yes, that was our initial discussions with DFC. We're in an application process to get that funding, I suppose, reallocated back to ourselves. And I suppose those were the discussions around restrictions about getting delivery. But there's no problem with asking the question again. albeit we know we have a very short time frame on that. But what I will say is we're also in discussion with our DFC colleagues about a potential shopfront scheme for next year for across the district, not just within one particular area. And if we're unsuccessful, I suppose, on this current proposal, then hopefully there'll be alternatives in next year's scheme to shopfront schemes across the district for everyone to apply.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members. I wish everyone a safe journey home and thank you for your contributions this evening. Thank you.